Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the webinar this evening. It's always a pleasure to have Juliette in the house, so to speak. First, though, I do want to thank Cindy Thompson, who is from Alternative Communication Services, and she is providing our cart this evening. Thank you very much, Cindy. As you all know, Juliette took leave from her audiology practice to become the HLAA loop advocate, and she travels throughout the country meeting with the fabulous members of our chapters and getting loop initiatives started in communities, and knows so much about loops. And I know this is a hot topic, but I can tell by the number of people in attendance tonight. So without further ado, I will let Juliette get started. Thanks, Juliette.
Thanks, Nancy, and thanks, Cindy, for doing the captioning. I hope that within a year or two, I'll be able to provide the captioning in-house as well. Our daughter just is finishing one of her captioning classes, and she's nearly at 100 words per minute. So about halfway there. And I may just be sitting here and looking pretty confident about this topic. I mean, I can talk about loops, you know, in my sleep, basically. But what I'm trying to do is provide some information for you about how Bluetooth and cell phones and telecoils can be used with your hearing devices. And I know from a lot of the people I talk to around the country, when they approach their audiologist about telecoils, they are frequently told telecoils are old technology, telecoils are analog, and Bluetooth and made for iPhone hearing aids is the way to go. So I'm going to try and incorporate all of this. So here we go, put on your roller skates, here we go. And it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek when I said that this was going to be a webinar talking about made for iPhone hearing aids with a match made in heaven, but it should have had a question mark. And really, if you already own hearing aids, if you already own cochlear implants, and you're looking where to go or how to hear better on the telephone or TV, hopefully you'll pick up some information in this webinar. If you're looking to replace your hearing instruments in the future, maybe you'll find some information in this webinar so that you'll know with what questions to approach your hearing care provider. And I got to change something here. So we're going to talk very, very briefly. I've belabored this time and time again, some of the limitations of hearing aids and cochlear implants, about the different wireless technologies that are out there. And if you think it's consumer or confusing for the consumer, trust me, it's also confusing for audiologists. And again, I'm trying to help you make a more informed decision regarding which technology is right for you. And about the limitations of hearing aids and cochlear implants, they absolutely work well for most users in quiet. You know, face-to-face, one-on-one, where you can see the person, where there isn't a lot of background noise, or where the background noise is in near field, meaning very close behind you, and you're sitting with your back towards the nose. But you know that hearing in background noise depends on lots of factors. The distance you to the speaker, the amount of background noise, where the noise is coming from, and who, you know, how the speaker is speaking. A lot of people hear me well, but if I'm listening to somebody, or you're listening to somebody perhaps with a very heavy accent, or somebody who speaks very, very rapidly, you're going to have more trouble. And then, of course, your individual hearing ability. You know, if you have what is called good speech discrimination skills, if your ability to understand speech without lip reading is in the 60, 70, 80% range, and you are able to see the speaker, you can easily fill in the gaps and be able to hear what a person is saying. But if you are among the people whose speech understanding is below 50%, or if you are even unable to understand without lip reading, then your hearing aids are going to be far more limiting for you in background of noise. So, you know, if your hearing instruments don't work well in some situations where you want to hear better, and this is fill in the blank, this could be in school, this could be on the phone, this could be on television, this could be in the car, we're going to try and find some, or talk about some solutions. And for those challenging situations, you need assistive listening technology, also known as hearing assistive technology, or HAT, H-A-T. I generally use the term assistive listening technology or assistive listening devices, same thing. It's the wireless receiver to give you super hearing. So let's first of all talk about the first type of technology that's out there. It's known as NFMI, near field magnetic induction. And that means that there is a small telecoil, not to be confused with the telecoil you use for on the phone or in hearing loops, that communicates directly with something called a streamer. Now, Siemens, Phonak, and therefore Au.D, Advanced Bionics, Widex, and Au.D, and Phonak's daughter company, Unitron, would all be using an intermediary or gateway device, also known as a streamer. So on the left is the new Siemens streamer. And by the way, Siemens has a new name. The company, the hearing aid division, was sold and will be now known as Sivantos, S-I-V-A-N-T-O-S. Second device from the left is the ICOM from the Phonak company. The third from the left is the Widex streamer, also known as the M-Dex, D-E-X. And on the right is the streamer from Au.D. Now, your question might be, so why do I need an intermediary device? Well, that's because the hearing aids and the cochlear implants cannot communicate directly with the Bluetooth signals, for example, from a cell phone that you're trying to hear. So the Bluetooth signal cannot be heard directly by the hearing aid and needs to be first picked up by one of the streamers. The streamer that you have in your vest pocket or worn around your neck, that device sends a signal to the hearing aids, and the hearing aids then pick it up and allow you to hear. And by the way, these devices will stream in stereo to your hearing aids. And what is it that you would be able to hear? Well, first of all, your cell phone. So signals from the Bluetooth transmitter, in this case the little cell phone device in the picture on the left, are sent to the streamer gateway device that the gentleman is wearing around his neck. And note that these two devices have to be paired in order for the streamer to recognize the cell phone, and then the streamer broadcasts the signal to your hearing devices. Again, that signal transmission from the streamer to the hearing aids is done with near-field magnetic induction. So, for example, this is the Au.D streamer. If you use, and this is a thing that's important, if you have two of the same make hearing aids on your ears, and the signals that you want to hear can come from a Bluetooth-enabled device, then the streamer is the way to go. So with Au.D streamer, you can connect to your mobile phone, to the TV, to in-car navigation, to your computer, and to your iPod, for example. This is the Au.D streamer, and This is the new Sivantos or Siemens streamer. And again, you can plug your iPhone directly into that streamer. Your cell phone can be paired to that device, and your laptop can be paired to that device. But you have to have this device around your neck in order to hear. Now, some companies, and in this case Widex, recognizes that pairing and linking of a cell phone to a streamer is sometimes confusing and difficult for their clients. So they've devised very specific gateway devices. They are really streamers, but they don't look like a streamer. Okay? So the phone on the left is paired to your hearing aids, and the moment you answer the phone will start streaming the sound directly to your hearing aids. Very easy to use. And on the right is the TV DeX device. Again, it is a form of a streamer. You should be wearing it around your neck, but you basically push the on button, and the television streamer device, which by the way on the bottom underneath the TV is connected with a wire to the television, will then start streaming directly to the little DeX device that you pick up and wear around your neck. And when you're done watching television, you pop it back in the charger so that it's ready for the next time to use. They're called TV DeX and Phone DeX. But again, this type of device will only be compatible with Widex hearing aids. Widex has a very specific little gateway device that is not wireless, but is very, very lightweight. You can wear it over a shirt or in your vest pocket, and when you get a phone call, you just quick plug it in, and as soon as you plug it into your telephone, it'll broadcast a signal to hearing aids, and in fact to very, very small hearing aids. And this is all being done to make it as easy as possible for the end user. So if you want hands-off telephone listening and what is called binaural phone listening, because we all know that if you've lost hearing, it's hard for you to understand speech. And we know that it's a lot easier for you to hear speech if you're listening with both ears. So if you have both the same make hearing aids, you need to then pair your cell phone to the streamer, or you can buy a home phone that offers Bluetooth, and the streamer will allow you to pair a second device, so you can have your cell phone linked, your home phone linked, your computer linked, and you will hear the phone or the computer in both ears. Now, for those of you who own older Phonak and some of the older Widex hearing aids, I'm pretty sure that they can be set up for what is called binaural phone hearing. So when the phone rings and you push your hearing aid to that particular program, when you hold the phone on one ear, the hearing aid that you're holding the phone on will also transmit the sound to the other ear, again, to give you sound hearing in both ears. And I'm almost 100% certain that Phonak does this with some of its older models, and Widex does this. So it may be something to ask if you own those brands of hearing instruments. Now, what else can you use your streamer for? If you own a personal FM system, and this is an older FM system, the streamer can also be used for FM listening. So on the left is the universal FM receiver that is connected to a hearing aid with a little boot, and that receiver can also be plugged into your streamer. And in the center is the picture of the Au.D streamer. On the right is the streamer from Siemens. And if you do that, the streamer will send the sound to both hearing aids. So you only need one individual phonic receiver with an FM system in order to hear. If you own a streamer, some manufacturers also offer special microphones. And essentially what you're then doing is creating some type of FM system that allows you to hear what's going into this microphone within about 45 feet or so, and will send the sound directly from the mic to your streamer, and the streamer again will send it to your hearing aids. Here is, I think, this picture is Unitron or Phonex Bluetooth microphone, and showing the Siemens Easy Tech Streamer and the Voice Link or FM Bluetooth microphone transmitter. So you're driving in the car, you've got your Easy Tech Streamer around your neck, you hand your spouse who's sitting next to you or the friend who's sitting next to you the microphone that they clip on their lapel. They would sound to you as if they are mere inches away from your ear. And of course, when you do that, your external microphones on your hearing aids will lower, so you'll be able to hear that person speak with greater ease. Here's another example. This is the Au.D microphone, the microphone that can be clipped on a collar or on a lapel. On the left is the speaker with the microphone clipped to her lapel. On the right is the gentleman wearing the streamer, and you see the distance, about 15 meters or about 40, 45 feet. And note that that microphone is pointing up. These microphones tend to be pretty directional, and they need to be pointing towards the mouth of the speaker. It's the Au.D mic, and again, this is the Phonak streamer device with near-field magnetic induction. You always need to wear an intermediary device around your neck or have it really nearby. And it's definitely something that you want to try and feel and get the idea of how it feels around your neck. Particularly the Widex streamer device is fairly large and fairly heavy. Now, there are some wireless systems that don't always need an intermediary device. Now, these are the 900 megahertz and 2.4 gigahertz, but not made for iPhone technology, made by Sterkens and Resound, and therefore, of course, Cochlear uses the same technology. And the difference between 2.4 gigahertz and 900 megahertz and NFMI is basically the transmission protocol. And for these devices, there needs to be a fairly large antenna inside the hearing device, and that means that they can't always put it in the smallest of hearing devices. The antenna is located in the hearing aid or in the cochlear implant. Is there an advantage? You bet. There's no need to wear a neck-worn device, no streamer device, when you are just listening to signals you want to hear. So television, computer, iPod, radio, if all you're doing is listening, like you're doing right now to this webinar, if you own Sterkens or Resound hearing aids with this technology, if you plug in a transmitter in your computer or in your radio or in your iPod, it will stream directly into your hearing aids. Of course, there's always a but. The but is that it will drastically increase your battery consumption. And you also need to know that some of this technology is not applicable worldwide. So in certain areas of the world, 900 megahertz is used by the government and therefore not available for hearing aid use. This is I'm just trying to, okay, let me go back. You know how I said on this slide that wireless systems don't always need an intermediary device? If you are listening to a signal, well, here's the but. But if you want to talk on the phone, if you will need, again, some type of phone clip. Call it an intermediary device, or it's not necessarily called a streamer. They call it a phone clip. But it's the phone clip that translates the true Bluetooth signal that comes from your cell phone and then translates it into a signal that your hearing aids can receive. Again, your hearing aids, or these new hearing aids, cannot receive Bluetooth signals directly. So, for example, on the left are the resound hearing aids. They send a signal to the phone clip, and the phone clip communicates directly with your cell phone. Why do you need the phone clip? Well, it's because the hearing aid devices aren't directly compatible with the Bluetooth signals from your phone. I want to draw your attention to that little phone clip on the collar of the lady in the photograph. Those phone clips need to be close to your mouth. Otherwise, the person on the other end of the phone line, for example me, when I'm talking to people who are using phone clips, have trouble hearing you. It's kind of a turning of the table, but sometimes these devices, if they're held too far away from your mouth, make it difficult for people on the other end to hear. And I draw your attention to the two pictures on the left side with the red arrows. And funny enough, these are photographs I plucked from the Resound website. Note that the little phone clip is horizontally located on the lady's lapel, and the same on the gentleman's tie clip. It looks like a tie clip, but in reality, that microphone has to be pointing up towards the speaker. So it's extremely important that you instruct the users who are going to use these microphone clips and use them the right way. But in this case, the speaker with the blue jacket, who is speaking behind the lectern, as long as you're within about 45 feet, the hearing aids will directly receive the broadcast into the hearing aids. And of course, that's very convenient. My question, of course, is, well, if there's 10 people in that room and they all want to have their phone clip on the tie of the gentleman who's talking, and how do you know which phone clip was yours? So this becomes a problem if there are a lot of people who have hearing difficulties in one room. The advantage of this type of technology, you don't need an intermediary device when watching television. Now, you do need to plug in a TV transmitter. So the blue arrow underneath the TV is pointing, the blue arrow is pointing towards a little transmitter that unobtrusively sits underneath your television and will broadcast the audio directly to the new cochlear implants that have this wireless technology built in, or to Resound hearing aids. And Starkey's technology is called SurfLink, and again, that little transmitter that you see in the center of the photograph will have to be plugged into the television, and it'll automatically broadcast or stream the sound directly to hearing aids. Now, a word about the Roger system, because the Roger pen, in effect, is a streamer, and the Roger pen or the Roger microphone, and I apologize, I don't have a photo of that Roger microphone, but the Roger pen is essentially a streamer that communicates directly with a little boot on the bottom of the hearing aid with the red circle, or to the MyLink receiver that you hang around your neck. That is a neck loop that requires you to turn on your telecoils, or could be plugged into the ICOM. And so the Roger pen will then broadcast directly to your ICOM as long as you have a little receiver plugged into the ICOM. Now, big advantage of this Roger pen is that the Roger pen has 3 different microphone configurations. When you lay that microphone still on top of a table, it becomes an omnidirectional microphone. It will pick up sound in about 10 feet radius on a table and will broadcast it to your streamer so that you'll be able to hear it. If you pick up the pen and you point at a person you're communicating with, the microphone becomes much more narrower in direction, and it reaches for about 3 feet, normal communication distance. And then if you hang the Roger pen around your neck and it's truly in an upright position, it becomes very sensitive to about 8–10 inches away from the mouth of a speaker. So again, it could be a microphone that you can hang around a person at a lecture, and in that sense it'd be very useful for students in a classroom. If you have more than one student requiring a Roger pen, I believe that one Roger pen can broadcast to different receivers, but I'm not 100% certain on that, and that would be a great question to ask somebody who's very familiar with the Phonak technology. And just to show you that Phonak has really thought this through, they offer all kinds of receivers for the different cochlear implants, and they plug in directly into the cochlear implant so that you can use it with the Roger pen. Now, I believe the Roger pen itself is about $600, and then to get the individual receiver for your cochlear implant or for your hearing aid would be about another $600. So this is, of course, the big question. What about a system that can receive signals direct from a cell phone? Well, believe it or not, they've been around for almost 10 years. Starkey, back in 2005, introduced the ELI system, the ELI. It was fairly large and bulky, but it was a system and is a system that would receive Bluetooth signals direct from a telephone into the little blue box connected to the hearing aid or to a neck loop around the neck and broadcast it to hearing aids. The only problem is that Starkey no longer supports this product. So currently, the latest and greatest, and yes, Starkey and Resound are the first hearing aid manufacturers that have developed hearing aids that can stream signals, audio, direct from your iPhone to hearing aids. So the Starkey produces its products under the name HALO, H-A-L-O, and Resound under the model names Lynx and Enzo, and Beltone being a product manufactured by the Resound company. That line, I believe, is called the first line, and was introduced for the first time in 2014. And of course, when they introduce a new product, they're going to introduce it in a small device. And the bad news was that these very small devices lacked telecoils. So in the last year, there have obviously been tons of people who have purchased hearing aids without telecoils, but to be fair, they are directly compatible with the iPhone instruments. Here is the Resound Lynx. It is what is called a RIC, R-I-C, receiver in the ear hearing device, and it's very tiny. It uses a 10A battery with a battery that lasts about 5 days or so, and if you do a fair amount of streaming, it will have the battery life. Same with the Starkey products. Now, the good news that they are now available in power instruments. So on the left is the tiny Resound Lynx RIC device. On the right is the Enzo device. It uses a 675 battery, power hearing instrument, meant for people with moderate, severe, and severe to profound hearing loss. And in the center is the Resound Lynx, standard Lynx device, and that ear hook can be removed and a very thin tube can be connected to that hearing aid, and that device will use a size 13 battery. Their claim to fame is, yep, they're directly compatible with iPods, iPhones, and iPads. Although they ran a little bit into an issue when the new iOS 8 operating system first came out, because it required every hearing aid on the market to be updated with new software. But once they took care of that, it works pretty slick. When the phone rings, you can directly talk to somebody on the phone. Now, if you're making conversation with somebody on the cell phone and you hold the cell phone that far away from your mouth while you're making conversation, trust me, the person on the other end is going to have a heck of a time hearing you. You may be able to hear them just great, but just keep in mind that you need to talk close into the microphone on the phone for the other person to hear you. The Starkey Halo device on the left, a very small RIC device. Come to think of it, I think it uses a size 13 battery. That made their battery life a little bit better, but that device lacked a telecoil. So, what are the advantages of made-for-iPhone hearing aids? It streams audio direct from your iPhone to hearing aids. Or, when you are on a bike or exercising or walking the dog, it'll stream audio in stereo directly to your hearing aids. And no wires, no cords, no nothing. It also, and of course this is pretty nifty, allows you to use your iPhone as a remote control. And that means that you can download a little app, and on this particular app, when you push the center speaker control, you can slide it up or down, and you can make the sound louder or softer directly in your hearing aids. Very unobtrusive. You could be sitting in a meeting, playing with your phone, and just turning up the volume up or down. Now, that app, the app to adjust volume, switch programs using an iPhone, just this month, Resound introduced an app for Android phones. So if you own an Android phone, you don't own an iPhone, the Resound instruments can now be controlled with an Android phone. But it won't work for phone reception. So the phone reception from the Android phone cannot be heard directly in your Enzo hearing aids, but you can use your Android phone as a remote control. Here's just to show you another really nifty feature with the Resound technology. It has a GPS built in, so your phone can tell you where your hearing aids were last seen, so to speak. If you've lost your hearing aids, it can tell you in what specific location your hearing aids were last worn. But you can also set very specific settings. So if you like to always go to a particular restaurant and you had a certain setting in your hearing aid, as soon as you walk into that restaurant, because your hearing aid knows in what GPS location you're located, it'll switch to that preferred sound setting, so to speak. So that's a nice feature. It also allows you to use the iPhone as an external microphone. So you can take the microphone and put it on the other end of the table, and the iPhone will stream the sound directly to your hearing aids to allow you to hear better. Now, on the other hand, and this is an iPhone invention from Richard Einhorn, that he's been using his iPhone for a long time, not necessarily with streaming hearing aids, coupled with a very directional microphone. This is the Blue Mikey telephone. Now he removes his hearing aids. He puts high-fidelity earphones in his ears. The earphones are $145. The special microphone about $100, $125, and with a small app on his phone for $4.99 called the Sound App, a Sound Amper app. Well, you say that 10 times and you get, tongue twisted here. But with this kind of setup, yes, it's wired, but you'd be able to use this in a small group situation fairly effectively for about $200, $250. So anybody who's attending the conference in June, if you see Richard Einhorn, you may just want to ask him to demonstrate it to you. Disadvantages made for iPhone. Number one, with small batteries, and I think I may have said that the hearing aids from Resound use size 10A battery. I think it's 312. I'm just not 100% certain, but you get fairly short battery life, about 5 days, unless you go to the bigger batteries, and high cost. You need to buy new hearing aids to make it work with your fancy iPhone, and of course that fancy iPhone doesn't come cheap either, but it's a nifty phone. So what if you're not in the market for new hearing aids? What if you use two different make hearing aids, a cochlear implant and a hearing aid, and you want to hear in a public venue, such as a theater or a movie house, a meeting room, or in a London city taxi cab? Well, I have some news, folks. Your good old friend, the Telecoil, is still the only game in town. And from what we understand, for large area listening, the Telecoil is going to be around for a long time yet, regardless of what some of your providers may be telling you. At this moment, there is no worldwide, universal, wireless standard that consumers can use in every country with every make, model hearing aid and PCEPs. And a PCEP is an over-the-counter hearing device. And until that universal standard becomes available, we're going to be using telecoils. Now, there is certainly work being done, and the International Telecommunications Union, or ITU, has formed a special study group, the ITU-R, to work on this. But keep in mind that they have 193 member states, member countries. This International Telecommunications Union is located in Geneva. In Switzerland, okay, not Geneva, Wisconsin. And that means that these countries all have to agree, and one of the main conditions is that some new wireless standard cannot drain the battery excessively. So work is being done, but we are still years away from this new standard. So for now, if you are not in the market for new hearing aids, if you use a hearing aid and a cochlear implant of different brand names, you have to avail yourself of the telecoil. And you can use the telecoil in looped venues, and we're seeing more and more hearing loops appear around the country. In venues that offer infrared or FM technology with a neck loop, again, take the FM device, put the neck loop around your neck, switch your devices to T-coil. In your TV room, you can install your own loop. And by the way, you can sit in a hearing loop all day long and it will not drain your batteries. Plus, one person can sit in a loop and 100 users can sit in a hearing loop. Every telecoil user gets its power, gets the energy from the magnetic signal in the room, from the hearing loop signal. And of course, an option would be, if you want to hear cell phone technology directly in your hearing aids, different make hearing aids, you use a neck loop device, such as the Clear Sounds or the Clear Sounds Quattro. What if you're not in the market for new hearing aids, and again you use two different make hearing aids, and you want to hear cell phone better, and you're in private? I'm not talking about doing this on a bus or on the subway, but personally I get a huge benefit, and I have to say that my new iPhone 6 has phenomenal sound, is definitely much louder, the speaker is much better. When I make a phone call, and this picture is of me making a telephone call, I then push the speaker button, and on the next picture you'll see that I have that speaker button turned on. That turns my phone into a speakerphone, my cell phone, and you have to hold your phone close to your mouth, make that conversation, but I guarantee you that the audio from that cell phone will be significantly better, and your understanding will be significantly better if you're hearing out of both ears. But you want to do this, of course, in a more quiet environment where you know nobody else can overhear your conversation, unless you want your conversation to be overheard. And frequently Max and I are making phone calls and I put it on the speakerphone because I want him to hear the conversation that's going on. So what else does the future hold? I mean, what's our crystal ball? What are we hoping for? We hope that there will be a day that you will be able to walk in a theater and your smartphone, your cell phone, will pick up this Wi-Fi signal and send it wirelessly to your hearing aids. In other words, that your cell phone will become your intermediary device. No more streamer from Au.D, no more streamer from Widex, no more streamer from Phonak. Your cell phone will stream directly to your hearing aids. We're not there yet. And of course, this all has to happen in real time, or you're going to be seeing all kinds of delays and lip sync issues and things like that. And then, what does the future hold? Later, and this could be 10 years, it could be 15 years, and frankly, I hope it's going to happen in my lifetime. There'll be a wireless technology that will broadcast direct to hearing aids and implants. So you walk into a theater, the theater communicates with your hearing aids pick up this wireless signal or the audio from the sound system, and you'll be able to hear this directly. And that's what we're hoping for. That's what the whole industry is hoping for. But in all honesty, my husband's still hoping for his jetpack, okay? So this is not going to happen, absolutely not going to happen anytime soon. So that kind of concludes the slides that I presented. I know I went through this in a pretty high speed, and maybe we should open it up for questions.
Okay. Okay, Juliette, that was an excellent presentation. I'm going to go back to Tony from Michigan, who said, 2.4 gigahertz is in the microwave frequency range. Are we cooking our ears when using devices from Starkey and Resound?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I think there's all kinds of concerns about everybody walking around with cell phones around their ears, and that, you know, you may be asking a question that we won't know until years down the road. I know that's what held up the introduction of the WiDeX technology, because their hearing aids were talking back and forth and to the streamer. So the short answer is, I don't know, Tony. I wish I did.
Time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, time will tell.
There was a comment when you were talking about the Roger pen that it's a bit pricey. Do you anticipate that the price will come down?
Well, you know, we're all hoping that prices will come down with these technologies becoming open source technologies. You know, that you buy your hearing aids from Au.D or WiDeX or Siemens, that's fine. But to expect consumers to be buying new gadgets every time when they buy new hearing aids, it's a huge expense. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking to audiologists right now who are saying, you know what, I'm betting on a hearing loop. I recommend my clients install a loop in their house. The T-coil always works, no problems with batteries. And until we have something that's universal, I don't think the price is going to come down, unfortunately.
Dee asked, within a looped meeting, if you do not have a telecoil, what option is available?
If you are in a meeting where you don't have a telecoil in your hearing aids, a loop listener is your best option. And a hearing loop listener can be purchased for $100, $125 from the loop manufacturers, from Harris. And I am working very hard, pushing very hard to either get an app in an iPhone that will make every phone, not just iPhone, but every smartphone, a loop listening device, whether that's going to be done with an app inside the phone. So all you do is plug in your headphones and now you've got a loop listening device in your pocket, or with special headphones that the headphones are loop compatible. The neat thing about that is that hearing loops would go mainstream, because how many people walk into a venue with a smartphone in their pocket, you know, and they could then immediately experience the benefits of a hearing loop. Now, the problem, from what I understand, that we have right now in making the phone directly a loop listener is that there is a fair amount of electromagnetic interference around a cell phone. And anybody with a telecoil can figure that out by turning your telecoil on and holding your phone close, and you hear kind of a buzzing and a whoop, whoop, whoop sound from the cell phone transmission. But to answer Dee's question, buy a loop listener for $120 and you're set to hear in the loop.
Okay, Katie would like to know, are telecoils going to be included in the made for iPhone hearing aids anytime soon?
Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. Starkey will be introducing their new made for iPhone HLAA hearing aid that includes a telecoil. I got an email from an engineer at Starkey who is in the know. So that's going to happen within the next month or so. And like I said, Resound has introduced the Enzo, which is their superpower hearing aid, and are getting ready to introduce their Lynx hearing device that has a T-coil. They're a little larger hearing aids. And, you know, for some people who are very concerned about the size of the instruments, I know that some people rejected the Enzo size because it uses a 675 battery and it's a big hearing aid. But their next one, the Lynx model, is going to be much smaller. So yes, Telecoils are going to be made for iPhone hearing aids.
Great. Cynthia wanted to know whether this webinar was recorded and available later. Yes, it is being recorded, and it will be posted on our website. I put the link in the chat box. Basically, you go to hearingloss.org and go to the webinar section. There's a replay tab. Usually takes us a few weeks to get it posted,
yep.
But we will try to do so as soon as possible. Okay, so John wants to know, so there is no product that combines iPhone and Telecoil technology together?
Yes, there are. The Resound Enzo instrument combines made for iPhone hearing, not for Android yet, and Telecoils. And Starkey will introduce their instrument with a Telecoil next month. So if you're in the market for new hearing aids, it'd be wise to give it a couple of months yet.
Good advice. Peggy would like to know, how would you pair or stream frequency from the church FM system to your iPhone?
How you pair or stream the frequency to your iPhone? Can't do it. I don't think you can do it unless you had a specific FM receiver. Now, I take that back. If you have a handy husband, like I have Max, who is standing right here next to me, he can tune his scanner to the frequency of the church, the FM system of the church, and then you could use that scanner or that little radio with earphones or a neck loop around your neck and stream it directly to your Telecoils. But I don't believe that your iPhone can pick up the FM frequency from the FM system in your church. But that would be a great question for an audio engineer. I don't have that answer. Sorry.
Alec would like to know, can the iPhone apps use a graphic equalizer, or is it just bass treble?
The iPhone apps, Alec, it depends on the app that you're buying, but like the Sound Amper, it's Sound AMPR app, does have some graphic equalizer, so you can fine-tune the amplification with that app on your phone, and it's like $5. It's not a lot of money. But remember, it would function almost like a pocket talker, except you get more fine-tuning ability, and it is wired. It's not wireless unless you have made for iPhone hearing aids.
Can a Bluetooth be connected to a landline desk phone?
Yes. I'm assuming, is this a question about you're working at work and you have a streamer or some type of intermediary device and you want to use that at work to hear the signal wirelessly through the streamer into your hearing aids? Could somebody clarify that?
That was Lisa. Let's see. Lisa might be able to clarify.
And the answer is yes. There are Bluetooth streamers available for office telephones. I haven't ordered one lately. I mean, I haven't been seeing anybody in the office for 2 years, and but again, that would be a good question to ask your hearing aid supplier, because when you call, let's say, Au.D, they generally know what brand transmitters work well with their streamers.
There's some lively discussion in the chat box about insurance coverage for hearing aids and when that might happen, and since the iPhone can be used as an assistive device, why doesn't insurance cover that as well?
Yeah, you know, I just fielded a call from a really good friend, patient who moved away to Colorado, and he said, you know, when are hearing aids going to be covered? He's in his late 20s. And I said, when consumers, i.e. the people who are insured, start demanding that that benefit gets covered in their insurance package. You know, and the truth is that more people are concerned about dental care and about being able to have their heart surgery covered than people, unfortunately, in their younger years ask for hearing aid benefits. So I know that there's a push to make hearing aids a covered benefit under Medicare. I don't know where it stands or where that's going to go. I personally would already like to see a major tax credit. That, you know, $500 tax credit towards a hearing aid purchase on each ear would already be a big benefit. And that, you know, proposal hasn't gone anywhere in the Senate or in the House. So if we could just all, you know, pull hands and forces together, maybe we can make it happen. But unfortunately, I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Okay, Holly would like to know, how do the HLAA or Lynx hearing aids connect directly to iPhone when Telecoil not present?
It's because the HLAA and the Lynx hearing aids have an antenna that can receive the signal from the iPhone, but it's a modified Bluetooth signal. It's not a true Bluetooth signal. Bluetooth was originally designed for data transmission, not for audio transmission. And that's why we have this big hassle with streamers and remote controls and everything else for consumers to hear. And Apple has designed this streaming protocol that can be fit in fairly small hearing aids with a small antenna. And unfortunately, Apple doesn't play well with the other telephone companies, other telephone manufacturers. Where have we heard this before? The hearing aid companies don't play so well together either. So on the one hand, Apple is controlling this, and Starkey and Resound are paying for this. For every hearing aid that Starkey and Resound sell, and they have to pay a commission to Apple. But on the other hand, I think down the road, it's the Apple and the Android companies that are going to force that to be a more open standard. Open, yeah, like, well, a standard that will work for every make and model hearing aid. But again, the question is, how soon is that going to happen? And from what we understand, could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. It could be who knows when.
Going back to Lisa's question earlier about her landline office phone,
yep.
She says, yes, it is a work phone. I have a cochlear implant and a hearing aid. What would be the best streaming product to use for hearing clarity on work phone?
She has a cochlear implant and a hearing aid. I think something that connects with a neck loop so that you'd be able to use the telecoils in the implant and in the hearing aid. And I'm going to have to refer you back to your audiologist. If you don't get anywhere, Lisa, feel free to email me. My email is right on the screen. And let me see if I can find somebody who can answer this question for you. But you may also need to work with your employer. That type of adaptation, you may need a special telephone. That type of adaptation is considered a reasonable accommodation for somebody who has a disability, a hearing, in your case, a hearing loss disability. And if you have worked with a DVR counselor, I have found that DVR is very willing to work with people who struggle with this issue. So if you can't find an answer, Lisa, email me and I'll get you in contact with somebody who may have some answers for you.
Okay. It is 9 o'clock, and I apologize that we are now out of time. I know that there may have been a couple more questions that we did not have time to get, but as you can see, Juliette's email is on the screen, and she welcomes questions, and she's always great about answering very quickly. I don't know how you do it, Juliëtte, but
I'm behind my computer, Nancy.
So thank you again, Juliëtte. Thank you, Cindy Thompson, for providing awesome CART this evening. Again, this has been recorded, and it will be posted on our website within the next couple of weeks. Thank you again. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, Cindy. And
thanks, Juliëtte.
The comment was, I live behind my computer.